Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? Happy Monday. Happy 4th of July to all of you here in the United States, of course, who celebrated America's independence yesterday. What is going on? Juan here at Lounge Room Prez 1. Another episode of On Point Discussion. I'm here with my two co-hosts, of course, Wyatt. You can find him on Twitter at TheCornelius7, and of course, our good friend Julius at the Fifth Top. Tonight, it is our distinct honor to welcome our friend Jacob. He is from the Windy City Gridiron over there, and he is with us tonight. You can find him on Twitter at Jacob Infante 24. Please tell me I got that right.
You did, yeah. You
Okay.
got me right.
Okay, I didn't know because sometimes it's the E silent, so I always got to make sure. But
Oh yeah, no. I mean, we used to be Infante coming over the boat when my Italian side back like 100-something years ago. So they switched it up. But yeah, I've gotten so many different pronunciations for it. But you got it right on the first try, so I'm pretty happy.
awesome. All right, I'm proud of myself, guys. See, we're making strides already. I like this. At Jacob Infante 24, guys, in order to follow the Twitter page at Talks on Point, and of course follow the network at Lounge Room Net. We're back after a 2-week break here on Point Discussion. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. Everything from, of course, the topic of mental health to Bears football here, and we'll even get into some of my key points from my trip to Detroit, seeing Ford Field for the first time in person on Saturday. And to the surprise of many, not as bad of a place as I thought it was going to be. Actually, I actually enjoyed my time over in the Motor City, but we'll get to that here in the second half. But let's go ahead and get started with our first topic of the night, of course, which, as I just said, is this topic of mental health, which of course is a big issue right now. And so big that we actually just had a story that was reported on by Adam Schefter about an hour or two ago about Aaron Rodgers coming out and making a point about taking care of yourself first, right? And making sure that your mentals are in check first, prioritizing yourself. And of course, he was talking in regards more specifically to players themselves in the NFL. But of course, that message really applies to everyone across the board. So I guess, I know, Jacob, you and I have kind of talked here. We've been talking on Twitter and whatnot. And I know, obviously, as many of our listeners know, right, I have my own struggles with, with mental health and all this and that. But, I guess, like, what when someone talks to you about mental health, and they come to you and they say, you have all these issues and whatnot, kind of what is the message that you like to relay to those people who maybe are struggling or who need advice or something or help?
Yeah, so I honestly haven't talked publicly a lot about it. Like, I've talked to people privately, but I haven't really used my platform. Admittedly, I probably should be, but there's certain stuff I've wanted to keep private, but I have had certain issues, especially within the last few years, that I've been going through the last, however many, probably 2 or 3 years. I want to say it's really, acted up. But when I'm talking, because I have discussions with a decent amount of people about this, with my own stuff, with other people's stuff, or just the topic in general, like, there's a lot that it's very tough for other people to control. And I think that's something that gets mixed up sometimes, where someone struggles with a certain, like, a habit, or they have a disorder or something where they can't necessarily control the thoughts that go through their head, or they can't control necessarily what their actions are as well as they'd like to. I feel like there's some sort of barrier and a little bit of an uneven playing field between holding people accountable for their actions and also having empathy for what people are going through from, a mental perspective. Because I believe that if, you mess up, you should be, like, held accountable and take that opportunity to, improve yourself and better yourself. But at the same time, especially for people who have those issues with mental health, it can be very tough to make strides there. like depending on exactly what your condition is, there are a lot of different areas that people uh, struggle with where they might end up accidentally like hurting someone's feelings or doing something that they may not know in the moment is wrong, or they know is wrong but they can't mentally control it. uh, I feel like there needs to be, just generally, I feel like having an open mind about what other people are going through and not jumping to assumptions like, oh, this guy, he's a piece of trash or whatever, because he's acting this way. That's not always the case. It's a lot of people have their own issues that they go through, whether they're public about it or whether they're private about it. And I really wish that sometime in the future there's more acceptance and open-mindedness about other people's like mental health struggles. I absolutely think that that's something that can improve. It has arguably improved a little bit in the recent, like, in society today, but there's still a long way to go for that. And I feel like there's still a lot of people struggling with mental issues who are being made out to they're being portrayed as crazy, or they're being portrayed as off the walls, or especially in sports they can be portrayed as cancers, like locker room distractions, instead of wanting to help them get the help that they need instead of just throwing them to the curb. So yeah, I know that was a little bit long-winded, but I feel like just general open-minded and acceptedness, I think that's something that needs to be uh, prioritized, at least from my own point of view, but for a lot of other people as well.
I like that you pointed out the like the athletes, right? And that notion that a lot of the athletes who struggle with mental health, that that they're called the cancers in the locker room, and that they're not regarded to the same degree, right, with the struggles that they're going through and whatnot. As a society, right, I think that, myself included, number one, because I've messed up before, and I think that as a whole we need to do better at acknowledging that sometimes there is more to what we are seeing when we talk to someone, right, or when we interact with someone. More often than not, I think that we're too quick to assume all these negative things about someone just based on what we see, even with just like first impressions, and just basic communication at a one-on-one basis. But then you have athletes again, and I point back to Aaron Rodgers because his story literally just dropped, earlier this afternoon, right? Where you have him coming out saying, we need to, we need to put yourself first. Well, we need to do this and we need to do that. And the mental health of professional athletes who, on many times, are seen as these individuals who, they're rich. They play sports for a living. There's nothing that can upset them. They're perfectly okay. But more often than not, that's not true. So just getting rid of stereotypes, right, and being able to acknowledge that anyone, regardless of status, can deal with things that everyday people like you guys and I and all of us here, that we experience too. I mean, that's just the way it goes. But Wyatt or Julius, if you guys have thoughts, please feel free to chime in on this. I know, I I could go on and on about all the struggles that I have, because I have plenty. I'm not going to hide those. I mean, I've been vocal about kind of what I've been going through, especially in the past few months here. But yeah, if you guys, Wyatt or Julius, if you guys have anything you want to add, please feel free.
I think it's like that Aaron Rodgers article that came out. When they interviewed him, he mentioned that he doesn't struggle with mental health, but it's always good to have that time where you can kind of relax or do things to kind of unwind. Because I mean, if you look at an NFL player or any professional player, they go through a lot, with the media, with practice, with games and everything, and they just need to get away and kind of get away from that, So you're seeing that more. It's talked about more. People are still judgmental towards mental health, thinking money or fame is going to take away your mental health. mental health doesn't discriminate. It doesn't say, oh, you got a bunch of money, you're good. No, it's been proven that people with a lot of money, like a lot of people who win the lottery, deal with mental health or deal with some type of issues, because money doesn't solve what's going on inside your head. So a lot of the times it's like we've talked about on the show, is it's a sign of weakness towards men if you have mental health and you're scared to talk about it, because it makes you feel weak as a man a lot of the times. And it seems like now that celebrities, now that professional athletes are coming out more, hopefully this is going to help other people. Like, hey, the quarterback Aaron Rodgers, maybe somebody that I idolize, he talks about his mental health. That maybe make me come out and talk about my mental health or what's bothering me. But everybody needs to take time, whether it's if you struggle with mental health or anything, you still need to take time to yourself or whatever to help you kind of relax and not, feel that overwhelmed, because sometimes you might feel overwhelmed or anxiety, and it's always good to either talk about it or do things that'll help you relax, because not everybody's perfect where you can just go through day in and day out working your job. Maybe you have kids, you go home and all this stuff. So you got to take time to yourself to, relax your mind, relax your body, and do things that are going to make you kind of just de-stress kind of thing. But yeah, mental health needs to start in the home, where, parents need to talk about it more with their kids, and it needs to be talked about more in school. So, because a lot of these kids just go through school. It's not talked about in the home. It's not talked about at school. And then, they're 20-year-olds or young teenagers, and, they don't know that they have mental health. They just think they're not normal because it hasn't been talked about. So that's something that needs to be start in the home and then at school as well.
Absolutely. Getting that information out, starting at a very young age, definitely helps, because then you're able to mold kind of a different perspective into these, younger generations of what exactly it means to have, mental health struggles, whether that's anxiety, depression, OCD, or whatever it may be. There's so many things out there that I think even us as adults, we probably don't know much about, and just having that information available or taught to us at a younger age, I think would help, in the grand scheme of things. But Julius, any thoughts on this topic?
I mean, I agree with a lot of the things you guys said. I mean, on various levels, I believe we are in the age of anxiety, in the age of mental health, period, in terms of our ancestors of the human population have been affected by the things that a lot of us have been going through ever since the dawn of time. It's just that science has progressed to such a point that can actually tell us when something is wrong, and is much more aware. It's in music, it's in movies, it's all social media. Everybody talks about it. It's much more of awareness of it. So this is something we're going to have to come to grips with as a people, as a country, as humanity, is that mental health is probably, in my opinion, the biggest struggle of life on earth. In my opinion, it really is. And it doesn't matter, like you said, it doesn't matter how much money you have, whether you're an athlete, who you are. It affects all of us in different ways. At one point, another time may not affect you now, but it may sooner or later. But only thing that I could say is really reach out to people, because loneliness is the biggest killer. As I've said many times on this show before, the lack of social connection and the lack of help and support literally kills people by the hundreds every day across the world. And if you don't have any friends, don't be scared to reach out to somebody professional, because there's always help out there. And it's funny because social anxiety is like the number one anxiety disorder diagnosed. That people are afraid of other people. And that takes out a lot of us. So we just need to fight that, and we need to come together. Unity. it's a very intricate subject, but we've talked about it many times. And my message is just don't be afraid to reach out for help. Don't be afraid. Don't feel embarrassed. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. This is normal. We're in the age of anxiety. We're in the age of mental illness. Don't be afraid to reach out.
I think that's always that's probably the big message that universally, right, is what I would hope, at least now in 2021, right, is shared and put out there. Don't be afraid to ask for help whenever you feel like you need it. Um, Unfortunately for me, just speaking on personal experience, it took me 26 years to go and find professional help. I didn't start seeking help until literally this year. Like that's when I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go out and do this, give it a try, and see what happens. And it's helping. It honestly really is. So yeah, there is no judgment in realizing that you need to get help. When you think that you need it. And anyone who, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
You mentioned like you just reached out for help. You're 26 now, and you've been dealing with it for a long time. It's proven that your mid to late 20s is when the human brain fully matures. So life kind of hits you like a train. You kind of come into this full realization of yourself. And it's interesting you say that. You're also a Bears fan. Hey, that's like beyond a train. That's like getting hit. It's like getting hit by like a massive jet going at the speed of light. When you're 26 and you're like, I'm a Bears fan. Depression, it fits together like a puzzle. But I just want to throw that in. Science.
It's funny because normally I'm the one who starts the trash talking, and now this time you're the one who came in hot with that shot. Dang. Okay. Well, hey, if that's how we're gonna play the game, I
remember last week's show. It was like Unforgiven, you and Wyatt. So.
Well, how long has it been since y'all even won the North? I mean,
hey, listen, I didn't say Lions fans are unaffected by this. All right, our mental health is a whole nother level. Of football depression is a whole nother level in Detroit. I'm just talking about Chicago is horrible as well. So live with it, Juan.
Well, at least we have hope in Chicago. I mean, you guys don't have anything to live for, I don't think.
I hope you're not talking about Justin Fields, man. I really hope you're not.
We'll get to Justin Fields in the second half here, but before we get into that, I want the audience to know, Jacob, about you a little bit more. So obviously, I know you do lots of work, covering the Chicago Bears and some writing that you do. You do draft analysis as well. Obviously, I see the content you put out, your tweets, all of your breakdowns. You actually just had a tweet about 28 minutes ago about Eli Nichols. So we're always following you, dude. We're always seeing what you're putting out there. Again, Bears writer, for the Windy City Gridiron and for the Draft Wire. But I want to know, kind of how did this passion of covering the Bears. How did you get into this? Like, what kind of drew you into, covering the Chicago Bears and what you do now and how you've been able to grow your platform? I mean, it's impressive. I mean, you do awesome work. And I know Julius, you're probably sitting there like, that's just him being biased. He's a Chicago Bears fan, but no, you do, you do great work, and I really appreciate it. And I want to know kind of how it all started. I mean, what kind of led you into this?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I appreciate the kind words, Juan. I appreciate that. That's, kind of you for sure. And yeah, so I started out writing in like 2016. I want to say it was like, I had Twitter for a couple of years at that point. I just tweet random stuff out, but I decided like, I always liked writing to an extent. Like if it was like an essay in school or whatever, like I'd enjoy that more than most people would. I'd subscribed to like those like Sports Illustrated kids magazines growing up. I'd read a lot of those, and I'd get like I'd like try and do my own sometimes where I'd type it out in like a Word document or whatever. So
I felt that, by the way. The youth like I think they had like Scholastic Sports.
Yeah.
They had sport like the Youth Sports Illustrated. I would always try to get my hands on those, but it was hard because I grew up in a very small town and we didn't really have bookstores or uh, newspaper stands or whatever to get my hands on those. But
Yeah.
every time I'd see them around, I'd always grab one and be like, all right, I'm gonna hold on to this. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like uh like growing up, my family was, pretty strong on like education growing up for me. So I, like read a lot. I'd, write stuff, and that kind of helped me, generate like an interest in that. And I was a sports fan growing back to like when I was like 6 or 7 years old. So that, those two have always been interests of mine, but they, not a ton of like in between, I guess you could say. Uh, and then I just decided to start my own blog, just, write about it. It didn't really matter if anyone was reading it, just to, you know, practice and have something fun to do, like after school or whatever. If I got my homework done, I just mess around and do that. And eventually I started, pushing it and marketing it and growing an audience. And then I got reached out to by another website, which eventually brought me on. And uh, it used to be called Cover 32. They closed it down a couple of years ago, but I started out there, and eventually I worked there for a little bit. And I want to say it was 2017 now. I applied to write for Windy City Gridiron because I'd been at the site for, a little bit, and I thought it was time to try and, shoot high, I guess you could say. And I, read Windy City Gridiron a lot. It was, one of my favorite as a fan, as purely, a fan and a reader at the time, like probably my favorite Bears website to read. So I applied for that, and honestly, I'm kind of surprised that my boss Lester Wiltfong took a shot at me at the time, because I was, like this scrawny little high school kid with very little experience or whatever. But thankfully he brought me on, and since then I've just been trying to, get better at what I do, and just try and like find new ways to improve content wise, because I'm going to be honest. I can look back at my first couple Windy City Gridiron articles. The comments weren't all that nice. I remember I wrote one because there's some like Bleacher Report article. I remember it to this day. There's a Bleacher Report article that said that Jeff Fisher could be a candidate for head coach of the Bears. And I decided to do like a little write-up of it. And, me at the time, I just said, oh, I know who Jeff Fisher is. So maybe... I guess like I didn't really, look too much into it, and I got clowned on in those comments. So that was a little bit humbling for sure. So I, from that point on, just looking for ways to educate myself, reading other writers, taking notes from seeing what other people do to grow their platform, and just trying to find ways to expand, like social media wise. Like I tweet a decent amount. Some of it is like actual analysis. Some of it's just more like jokes and stuff like that. And, kind of lighthearted stuff that isn't supposed to be meant as like, digging deep into a certain topic. So I feel like just working hard, but not taking myself too seriously. And I feel like I've still got a long way to go, especially from like a football knowledge standpoint. There's a lot of the game that I still want to learn about, especially like from a scheme perspective, and how that all works from a coach's point of view. I want to, get better at that. But yeah, I mean, that's just how it's gone along, just trying to, continually work at it. And then, we'll see what the future holds. Like ultimately I'm open to anything, but all I can say right now is I'm happy with where I'm at right now. And I'm grateful for the experiences I've had, for sure.
You took your shot and you made
Yeah.
it. That's awesome. And one of the things, of course, that comes with doing this kind of work, right? Whether it's podcasting, whether it's writing, whether it's even like scouting and all that. Obviously, that's further down the road, but you're always going to get criticism, right? Yeah. And that is, I mean, that's inevitable. That's going to come with any of these things that we do. kind of in this business per se. It's just a matter of how you take that criticism that comes at you, right? So you could either let it completely tear you down and make you want to quit, or you can take it, if it's obviously if it's nasty criticism, right? Take it with a grain of salt, push it off to the side, and you keep going, right? Constructive criticism, of course, so is always the criticism that is warranted, that you want, because then at the end of the day, it's like, all right, maybe I could have done this differently, maybe I could have done that differently. You take it, you learn from it, you make your product better, right? So
Yeah.
I think, at least again, my my Chicago homer perspective, right? Obviously, I think you've learned from that, and you've made your content better. Julius, on the other hand, probably thinks that you suck, and that's fine. But just remember, who really sucks here is Detroit and all their sports teams.
Four. I give that a C-1, C-. On the input. I don't think Jacob sucks at all. It has nothing to do with the Lions. C-1.
I'm still, so for those who don't know, I'm very salty because the White Sox took like 2 L's this whole weekend out in Detroit, and I was out there
back to back.
Yes, and I'm still salty about it. I'm fuming. I was punching air the whole way back from Detroit.
Go Tigers.
No, the Tigers. Are you a Cubs fan or a White Sox fan, Jacob? I'm curious to know now.
I am a Sox fan. Yeah, I'm not admittedly like as much of a diehard baseball fan as I am with football.
Right.
And I don't hate the Cubs. Like, they're not, I don't know if they're my second favorite team or not, but I don't dislike them. It's just, if I had to choose between the two, it'd be the Sox. I'm definitely been a big Sox fan for, quite some time.
If you don't mind me asking, did you grow up in Chicago, in the Windy City, or?
Yeah. So I've, lived basically my whole life, like in the Chicago area. Like I'm, I'm southwest of Chicago. So I'm like there in the suburbs. And that's where I've been, most of my life. But my dad lives in Chicago. So I get to go down to the city a decent amount and, visit him every once in a while. And growing up, we spend every once in a while there. So
best city in the country. I don't care what anyone says. I live in Milwaukee. I love it here. I will admit, yes, it's a great city, great small little city in the Midwest, right on the shores of Lake Michigan, of course, here in Wisconsin. But Chicago will always be the superior city. I don't care, again, what anyone says. That's just the fact. And that is my take for the night. Chicago's the best city. Oh, God. Julius, you're going to say something. Go ahead, Julius. I'm waiting for it.
I'm not going to say nothing. Hey, they call Chicago the city of big shoulders for a reason, all right? Y'all think y'all the best. I don't know. But it's okay. Y'all have a lot. Chicago, I respect Chicago as a city. I do. It's I respect Chicago. That's all I'm gonna say. But I'm a Detroiter through and through. So yeah. We're not Chicago.
Oh, absolutely not. All right. We're about halfway through the show, 30 minutes in. Remember that On Point discussion is, of course, powered by our friends over at One Call Tech, and we are also sponsored by Fanatics. Remember to visit fanatics.com and check out the sports gear that they got right now. They're running deals on NBA Finals merch for both the Bucks and the Phoenix Suns, which will both inevitably be in the NBA Finals here in the coming days. Huge shout out here to Milwaukee for making it. The city right now is it's electric. It's a great vibe right now here in Milwaukee. A lot of people are very happy. First time since like 1971, I believe it is, that the Milwaukee Bucks are going to the NBA Finals, and I, along with all of my fellow Milwaukee residents here, are very happy. So I'm still a Bulls fan. Through in and out, but I got to root for my city in this one because this is fun. It's going to be fun. And I hope they can bring it home because I just want that, besides wanting the extra day off work to go to the parade, I want to go out there and watch all of the people here in the city be of course, be happy. But let's go ahead and let's dive into some football talk here, because that's obviously that's our specialty, of course, here. But so, of course, right, 3 out of the 4 of us are Bears fans. We all know this, but I wanna ask you, Jacob. Right, so we've got our guy. We've got Justin Fields. Field season. He's here.
Sir.
How ecstatic were you on draft night when the Bears moved up and got Justin Fields in April? I just need to know.
Yeah, so I was watching the draft with a couple of my friends from college, and we were just like chilling at someone's apartment. And I noticed Justin Fields falling down the board. I'm like, okay, I don't think they're going to do it, but is there a possibility they'd move up? And then I saw the tweet notification first and foremost. I think it was Adam Schefter. I saw that. I was going insane, but I was also kind of tempered because I'm like, okay, I think this is for Justin Fields. What if it's for Mac Jones? Because I'll be honest, like I never hated Mac Jones, but I just didn't see him as a franchise caliber guy. Whereas with Justin Fields, I saw him as one of the franchise caliber guys in this class. So the second that I heard that announcement on the TV, it was insane. I very rarely like fanboy out, I guess you could say, or like truly lose that, objectivity that you're supposed to have or whatever they say. But I was going insane. I was screaming. I was running around. And then I hopped on a podcast with, some guys from Windy City Gridiron, like a live, right after recap. It was like 5-10 minutes after that pick was made. My voice was already shot. I was I was gasping for air at every possible second. I sounded like I was dying that entire time. But I wouldn't take any of it back. I don't think I've ever been that excited about anything football related in my life. And, I've been a football fan, a Bears fan, especially for, quite some time. And, whatever happens, I'll always be a fan first and foremost above, whatever, writing or whatnot, or any other form of media that I'll, pursue or whatnot. But that was a lot of fun. I love Justin Fields, watching him on tape. And I honestly didn't expect him to fall into that range that the Bears could consider him. So I was just over the moon, man. I could go on for days about how excited I am for that.
Have you bought his jersey yet? That's the big question.
Not yet. I haven't yet. And I'm planning on doing it sometime this summer, because I did buy a Trubisky jersey like pretty quickly.
I did too.
Yeah. And in retrospect, I didn't wear it a lot because and it's not because of anything like on the field, because I only had a Trubisky and Mac jersey. Those are the only two Bears ones I have right now, so I'm looking to get another one. But my Trubisky jersey, like the numbers a couple of years ago got like torn up in the dryer. So I guess if that's a metaphor for something, take that for whatever you will. But yeah,
unfortunately, not the only thing that got tore up. Related to Trubisky in his career. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, but he's married now.
Yes,
I'm very happy for him. He seems very happy, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do with the Bills, because I think that's going to be a good opportunity for him. A lot of people think that I hate Mitch Trubisky just because I don't think he's a very good quarterback, but that's nothing like against him at all. Like as a person, I love the guy. And I think that he can stick around the league for quite some time, but it didn't work out, and it is what it is at that point. I'm looking forward to the future, and Justin Fields, hopefully, fingers crossed, is going to be that franchise quarterback for the Chicago Bears.
Yes, off the field, I feel like he's just such a genuinely nice person. But it's like the second he steps on the field, I'm like, gotta take a step back and remember what exactly it is he's doing out there, and that's he's about to go play a 4-quarter football game, and it might not be the prettiest. But Wyatt, go ahead.
Jacob, I got to tell you, like with everything, I enjoy your content and I understand, like your honesty with your tweets about Mitch and people hating on you. He's a generally good guy, and I wish him the best. But he obviously wasn't the franchise quarterback we were hoping for, or Ryan Pace was hoping for. I got to tell you, I was kind of worn out with all the quarterbacks that were tied to the Bears this offseason.
Oh,
I tried not to get my hopes up with like the Russell Wilson trade thing. I thought that was going to happen, but then when it fell through, I'm like, okay, now everyone's saying Justin Field. Like everybody on Twitter is like, the Bears are going to get Justin Field. I'm like, there's no way in hell we're getting Justin Field at 20 or even being able to trade up. There's so many in the top 10 teams that needed a quarterback. I'm like, there's no way Justin Fields lasts, outside the top 10. And so every time I'd see it on my Twitter feed, I'd just scroll past. I'm like, there's no way. I'm not going to get my hopes up for Justin Field. And, when the Panthers passed on him, and then you had not the Panthers, the Falcons first, because I thought the Falcons, then you had the Panthers and then the Broncos. I was like, okay, I was expecting we're rolling out with Andy Dalton this year. It's going to suck. And we'll maybe get Kellen Mond in the second round. I don't know. I'm like there was no hope for us. And then when we got Justin Fields, it was shock. Like, how could he fall past the top 10? So my question is, as a Bears fan, do you think, because you watch a lot of tape on Justin Fields, do you think this is the guy, this is our franchise quarterback, this is somebody that's going to hopefully get us to a Super Bowl, or hopefully just consistent winning? Because we haven't really had a franchise quarterback. Do you believe wholeheartedly this is the guy by what the tape you've seen? I know he hasn't started a game yet from the NFL. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think he can be. I think that there are a lot of tools in place there for him to succeed in the NFL, and I'm honestly flabbergasted he fell out of the top 10 to this day. Whether it's some sort of, weird narrative that was being thrown out there, or, just other teams liking other quarterbacks more, which, to each their own. But I feel like Justin Fields was closer to quarterback 1 than he was quarterback 5. And I know a lot of people, some people were saying, oh, maybe he's going to fall all the way to being the 5th quarterback taken behind both Trey Lance and Mac Jones. But I think that there's definitely a lot to like with Justin Fields, and from an arm talent perspective, from his accuracy to, he's got good arm strength. I think that he's, an intelligent player. And contrary to popular belief, Ohio State's offense is intricate, and it forces him to make, tough reads. It's just in a different way from, your traditional NFL style offense, but mentally making good decisions on the field, and also having that clutch gene, so to speak, like being able to step up in those tough situations and play. I think he definitely has that. And he's a really good athlete too. Like from a pure speed perspective, there are going to be very few quarterbacks who offer that rushing dynamic that Justin Fields brings to the table. So, I mean, time will tell. We will see what happens in 2021 and beyond. But I think that there's really a lot to like with Justin Fields. And personally, I'm very hopeful. I'm trying my best not to get too hyped up because I've been hurt by that kind of stuff in the past. But I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic that he can finally be that guy for the Bears.
I've seen some of the tape that has been put out, or just even some of the pictures that have been put out by the people who he's training with, and you look at Justin Fields and you're like, this guy is, he's built. He's athletic. So definitely he has to use his legs to his advantage. During the season. Right now, the next question, right, of course, is, well, when do you foresee Justin Fields being the starting guy behind center? When do you think Matt Nagy's going to make that decision? If he does, who knows? Maybe Andy Dalton will have a breakout season, or not a breakout season, but he'll have a really good season, and maybe Justin Fields won't even see the field this year. Who knows? But if it were to happen. How far into the season? How far do you think Matt Nagy would be like, all right, All right, it's time to switch our guy here. We gotta get Justin Fields out there.
Man, that's tough. I want to say go full circle and check after week 4, like they did with Mike Glennon and Mitch Trubisky back in 2017. I think they'll wait a little bit longer. Honestly, I think that Andy Dalton is, as much crap as people give him, he's definitely better than Mike Glennon.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think it's much of a hot take there, but yeah, I think that we're looking at. Oh man, I got the schedule pulled up because I want to see if there are any specific games. Let's say week 6 after Green Bay at home. Week 6 after Green Bay at home. That's what I think. I think they got the Rams, going up to start off the season. And they got Cincinnati and Cleveland, Detroit, Las Vegas, and Green Bay. And if they – because those are some pretty tough teams. I think Cincinnati and Detroit, they'll be able to – I feel like they can win those games, maybe beat Vegas as well. Rams and the Browns and the Packers I'm a little less confident in. So I feel like depending on the record after that stretch of those games, that's when I could see the Bears making a decision on, pulling the trigger on Justin Fields, because at that point on, you still have plenty of time left in the year for Fields to get reps. If he plays really well, then you still have plenty of time to get into that playoff race. If he struggles a little bit, then, just be patient with him and give him that opportunity to continue to get NFL reps, because we've seen he's a quick learner. And a lot of the reports show that with how Matt Nagy has talked about Justin Fields taking to the offense and learning plays and schemes and certain route concepts his receivers are supposed to be running and the different reads he's supposed to be making. I think that indicates just how, high Justin Fields' football IQ is. So combining that with his physical talent, I do feel confident that he'll be an upgrade at quarterback whenever they go to him. I'm going to go with that Green Bay matchup at home, though, for when they pull the trigger on him.
Julius, were you going to make a comment? I saw you were getting ready to say something there.
This is all great.
Man.
First of all, Jacob, I'm the only non-Bears fans here. I respect you. I gave you a solid follow on Twitter for the simple reason alone that your avatar does not consist of Justin Fields' face. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you. I appreciate you. Now,
Jacob's got to. You got to follow the man back. I mean, it's.
I did. I followed.
Give me a follow back. All right. You all good? You all good?
I'll see myself out.
Justin Fields. Listen, all this Bears Justin Fields propaganda. I just want to apologize to the listeners. Y'all been hearing a lot of Kool-Aid. They call it Kool-Aid. Every fan base drinks this stuff in the summer. The summer gets hot. We get thirsty. You got to drink the Kool-Aid. It's a lot of, I don't know what y'all colors is, navy and orange. Whatever it is, it's flowing strong on the airwaves today. Justin Fields, I believe, just in my opinion, Justin Fields, he might end up being good. I don't know. I'm like 50-50 on it. I have a 50-50 split. You know why I got a 50-50 split and I'm not as confident as you enthusiastic Bear fans are? It's because he failed in the draft for a reason. The Bears... The reason, all right, this is the reason that Bears fans, in my opinion, is so hype about Justin Fields. It's because Mitch Trubisky had the weight of Jupiter on his shoulders after Patrick Mahomes became one of the GOATs and Deshaun Watson became all-pro. Mitch Trubisky pretty much, it was too much for him. He couldn't handle it, and he broke under it, and his failure is Matt Nagy's failure, and what's your GM name again?
Ryan Pace.
Ryan Pace. I forgot his name. Right. Pace and Nagy. That's Trubisky. That's the legacy for those guys. They getting another chance. And it kind of reminds me how the Ford family gave Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn another chance in Detroit last year after they were supposed to get fired. after another horrible season, the worst defense ever. But they didn't. They got another chance, and that seemed like what Nagy and Pace are getting. I just don't trust them. As an outsider, I don't trust that Justin Fields was what did you guys give up for him? Was it a lot? It wasn't that much. You only gave up like a future first and a third, if I'm mistaken, or something like that. Y'all didn't give up a lot for him. He come from Ohio State. That got me already. I don't trust Ohio State quarterbacks. Don't talk about Joe Burrow. Don't talk about Joe Burrow because he went to LSU and developed. I have yet to see an NFL franchise-capable quarterback to come out the Ohio State University in Columbus in the history of my life, ever since I've been alive, 31 years. So until I see one, I'm not gonna aspire to the Ohio State scheme. Was intricate. He has these extra tools. Nope. I got to see it first. Like I said, I'm at a 50-50 split on him just from my outsider perspective. And I just want to apologize to our listeners for all this sickening Bears propaganda. Shout out to Jacob for not having a Fields Abbey, and keep producing great content for the Bears.
Thank you, sir. And might I add to that point, I feel like there are so many Justin Fields avatars out there. Like if I'm checking in like replies or, likes or retweets or whatever, I see a lot of the same avatar like lined up in a row. And I'm like, wait, is this just the same guy over and over again? And then I have to double check and I'm like, okay, no, this is a different Justin Fields guy. This is another Justin Fields guy. like don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Like, I get the excitement. But yeah, I decided to go a different route with my avatar, and I appreciate the praise on that for sure.
Listen. I sent out a hot tweet like a month ago that ever since I've been those Justin Field Avies public enemy number one on Twitter. They there's some watching this show right now planning up attack tweets on me. I'm gonna be in my mentions just because they can't show their real face and want to hide behind the the beautiful afro of Justin Fields.
How many times in the past 2 months have you punched air, Julius? Over these obbies that are fake.
Listen, you know when I'm really gonna punch air? If Justin Fields ascends to the heights that the Chicago Bears fandom wants him to ascend, if he becomes a beast, the best quarterback in the North, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, I'm gonna be punching air, man. I'm gonna be punching air for life. Right for the next 2 decades.
Get ready for Justin Fields to march into Detroit with the Bears team
on Thanksgiving.
On Thanksgiving. Yeah, because the game that you and I are trying to go to, Julius, together. Watch Justin Fields march right into the Motor City, demolish, destroy
that game. I can't.
The Detroit Lions at home.
I hope so. I hope Justin Fields is the starting quarterback for that game. I really
45-3.
I call it right now on this show right now. I will judge Justin Fields' career based solely off that game. If he starts that game on Thanksgiving Detroit and obliterates the Lions on national television like so many before him, I will anoint him future king of the North. But if the Lions shut him down and make him look like a little punk, I have some other things to think about him then.
I was going to jump on the post-Thanksgiving show and just clown Wyatt and I.
No, man, the Lions, I feel real good about the Lions against the Bears this year. That's all I'm going to say. Based primarily on y'all quarterback situation. That includes Justin Fields. That includes Andy Dalton. I don't care which one we're going up against. Until I see Justin Fields looking like the next Mahomes, I'm to think of him as a rookie quarterback who's going to struggle. So,
Jared Goff is going to be struggling.
Yeah, Jared Goff's going to have a hard time against
that may be so, but Jared Goff been to a Super Bowl, got a few division titles under.
Yeah, but he doesn't have Sean McVay to hide his flaws.
What y'all pesky Bear fans think about him, okay? You don't care about what Sean McVay think about him. At best, he's our bridge quarterback. He might be our bridge quarterback at best. That's okay. We robbed LA of 4 first-round picks in the next 2 years just for Matthew Stafford, who didn't even want to play here anymore. Love you, Matt. Go ahead. If Goff sucks, it's okay. We're going to draft his predecessor. I guarantee it. I'm not worried. I'm not worried about Goff. Goff might mess around, though. He might mess around. and win in Detroit. I'm just not going to go too far deep into that.
I'm
This is not the Honolulu Blues. All right.
Here's Julius. I'm not thinking too much about golf. Catch him buying a Jared Goff jersey in like August.
Oh, no. All right, listen. Hey, if the Lions 9-0, if the Lions 9-0 for that Thanksgiving game, I have a golf jersey on at Ford Field right next to you, Juan. If we're 9-0 in that Thanksgiving game, first place in the NFC North, I'm gonna have a golf jersey on. I'm gonna be talking about all the great DNs and linebackers we could draft with all those picks we got for golf.
Julius going to be pulling receipts the entire way to Detroit, or like on the way back to his house.
I'm really worried about that game. Okay, I am, because you're going to be there and I'm going to be there, and it's not going to be great. Somebody's going to be sad.
When we come back on Monday for the show, we might have some bruises and some black eyes.
This show might literally blow up nationally just based off us being at that game together. Literally. If we do any lives, and
all right. Let's not overhype. Let's get off the Kool-Aid. Let's get off the Kool-Aid. We're any final thoughts, Wyatt, before I just kind of shift here to start wrapping some of the show up here?
No.
Okay. I sorry. I look like you were gonna say something.
Wyatt is a moderate Bears fan. Okay, he's not drinking a Kool-Aid.
Oh, I am. I don't know it. I'm hyped about Justin Fields. This is our franchise quarterback. When we drafted him, I told my son, who was 5 months at the time, I'm like, now you don't have to grow up as a Bears fan. He probably didn't understand. You don't have to grow up as a Bears fan and know our anguish is not having a franchise quarterback. He'll probably grow up watching the Bears, be like, the Bears are awesome. Look at Justin Fields. He's going to know what a franchise quarterback is. He won't know the disheartening that me, Juan, and Jacob have felt in our lifetime as a Bears fan. Justin Fields is going to be that guy. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid.
I really hope that's true, Wyatt, because otherwise Julius is going to be pulling receipts like there's no tomorrow if that doesn't end up happening, and I'm not ready for it. I'm not ready for it.
Wyatt will just have just as many receipts as you, Juan, probably more, because I remember Wyatt was jumping up and down like a little happy kid on Christmas when that happened. I remember.
Yes, on that live show, I do recall. I really quickly I want to start wrapping up the show here. I just want to share some thoughts on Detroit. Because as a lot of you know, I was out there over the weekend, first time ever in the Motor City. I got to go to Comerica Park, and I also stepped foot on the property of Ford Field, touched the building. I actually lost a finger because my hand started on fire when I touched the football, the brick wall. So I have 9 fingers now in my hands. I'm going to say this about Detroit. Number one, the people in Detroit are very nice. Obviously, I was wearing my Sox gear all day because, again, they were out there and they lost. Yes, they did lose very badly. Did I punch air walking out of the stadium? You bet I did. I was very upset, but it's fine. It's fine. It's all good. It's all good. The people of Detroit are absolutely, again, some of the nicest people I've ever met. The hospitality, the warm welcome, the environment. It was very laid back, very fun city, at least in the parts where we were in. Walked over to to Ford Field. Got to see the Detroit Kitty Cat Stadium, at least just from the outside, and it's decent. It's no Soldier Field, but it's decent.
Listen, Ford Field is one of the most underrated stadiums as far as noise, as far as the fans indoors, because we're a cold city too, but we're not outside like y'all are freezing by Lake. Oh, the lake affects snow. No, we don't do that. We bring it, and we bring it warmly and loudly in Ford Field. We just don't win. That's why nobody thinks that Ford Field's a hard place to play at full capacity, but it is.
I mean, well, Don't y'all? I mean, you guys always choke in Ford Field, though. I mean, I don't understand why. You're all like hyped. I mean,
Listen, Juan, I'm glad you visited City for the first time. Yes, Detroit is a great place. I'm sorry we had to hand y'all 2 L's on a platter like that. I mean, y'all supposed to be the bigger city, city of big shoulders. Y'all just catching L's from little Detroit next door, 6 hours away. It's okay. The Tigers are a proved team this year. I just want to shout out the Tigers. They have a rebuild. They've been rebuilding for a while, but it's coming to fix. It's coming to fix. The White Sox, I don't know, man. I don't know if y'all might even make the playoffs. Y'all see a lot of weaknesses in y'all lineup. I don't know. Y'all dealing with injuries.
you don't know if we're gonna make the playoffs. We
Y'all
are in
both
first.
got ate
We
up.
are in first place in the AL Central.
I know,
You're
man.
talking.
I know.
You're
Shout out to the
trash
White Sox.
talking. You're trash talking, and I can't hear you because you're so far down on the chain.
I actually somewhat admire the White Sox, Juan, because unlike the Cubs, I just feel like a sense of pride with the White Sox. That it's like y'all got a little club. It's like a little fraternity. It's not like the Cubs. I go down. I live in Texas. I find Cubs fans down here all the time, everywhere. I don't find one White Sox fan. That's how tight knit that the White Sox is, and I like those type of franchises. So
I will admit I did see a few Cubs fans in Detroit, and I was quite upset. I'm like,
They're everywhere.
I'm like, you really can't get rid of these people. Like, regardless of where you go, it's like you always run into like a random Cubs fan, and I'm like, oh my god, just I leave Chicago. I'm like 6 hours away from where I'm from. I don't want to see a Cubs fan out here. I just want to see. I can tolerate Tigers fans. But why in the hell am I seeing Cubs fans in the middle of downtown Detroit? Come on. But no, it was a fun time. It was a fun trip, and I hopefully look forward to getting out there for the Bears game. On Thanksgiving.
Real quick, Juan, I appreciate you not going to 8 Mile and battle rapping like Eminem. Because those were the words that you told me that you said you were going to do on Saturday night when you called me very inebriated in downtown Detroit, and you were thinking about catching a trip, a Uber, I believe, up to 8 Mile because you wanted to battle rap like Eminem. You were dead serious, and I'm glad you didn't partake on a select trip, Juan. I just want to know that.
I just want to point something out for
late night phone calls.
For those who are listening. First off, I do not remember any of that conversation. Secondly, why on God's earth I said I was going to go rap anything to begin with.
Did you watch that movie recently or something? Because you were pretty, I felt like this is something you had in your heart that you wanted to do.
Yes, I was gonna Uber all the way out to 8 Mile, get dropped off, look for that shack or whatever it was, or underground venue or whatever, and stand in there by myself and just start rapping.
St. Andrews, that's the name of that underground venue.
Okay.
And actually, that venue was a few blocks from where your hotel was. It was not up by 8 Mile. 8 Mile just happened to be the thoroughfare, the neighborhood where Eminem was from. The trailer park shots and all of that. That's where he lived. But he would actually travel downtown to St. Andrews to actually battle rap. Not too far from where you were. So you could have maybe even partook in it if you knew that. Luckily, you did not.
Well, trust me, rapping is the very last thing I'm going to do for anyone, especially if it's caught on camera. I sang mariachi, that's one thing. Rapping, however,
I got to catch you doing that too. Mariachi, I'm going to catch you.
You're going to rap when the Bears beat the Lions on Thanksgiving Day.
I'm going to make a whole rap. I'm going to make a whole rap song just for Julius. For that fat L that the Lions
walking
are
out
take.
of Ford Field, you're gonna throw it on live. You're gonna introduce the world to that song.
Yep, it'll be my.
Can I ask Jacob one more question before we end?
Yes, absolutely.
Jacob, I forgot this question, but I wanted to get your thoughts. We have 10 days until the franchise tag, and we can't. The franchise window closes. Do you think the Bears will extend out Allen Robinson for the season? Or
So
for
that's coming up, and I will say first and foremost that Juan, if you need any help writing lyrics for your rap, I did get into a rap battle in 7th grade. I lost, but I was in one, so I technically have that on my resume. So if you need any help, I got you, man. So
I'll be sliding into your DMs after this after the show.
oh, but yeah, Wyatt, to answer your question, I I honestly don't think that an extension will come before that deadline. That's just my opinion on it. I think that eventually the Bears will re-sign him to a contract extension, but I think it'll be after the season. I think that they seem to be, far apart enough on the monetary value of that deal, and I think that Allen Robinson's also kind of uh, a little bit hesitant just because he doesn't know exactly what the quarterback play is going to be going forward. So I think we're going to have to see what Justin Fields and Allen Robinson can put together this year, because if they give Fields a shot and he and Robinson really hit it off on the field, then I think that there's no reason that they wouldn't be able to work a deal with him, because they have plenty of cap space to be able to afford him, as well as a couple other key free agents who are hitting the open market next year. So that's just my gut feeling. I don't think an extension will be done before that deadline, but I do ultimately think he'll stay in Chicago. I just think we're going to have to wait a few more months before we get that all sorted out.
that's sad news, but hopefully
I know. I
we
just
get
got really sad.
Yeah, trust me. If it were up to me, I'd be moving heaven and earth to lock him up for however many years. But yeah, that's just my gut feeling right now. But we'll see, though. Maybe the Bears will surprise me, and we'll be able to get A-Rob locked in long term.
We'll continue to be cautiously optimistic. How about that?
Hey, Andy Dalton took the Bengals to the playoffs as a rookie. Maybe Justin Fields can do the same for you guys. Maybe Andy Dalton could do it for you guys. Maybe you guys win 3 games.
I hope the former comes true and the latter is just another one of your rent-free fantasies, Julius. How about that?
Listen, I was giving y'all philosophical truth there.
Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, Jacob Infante for us here tonight on Point Discussion at Jacob Infante 24. Sir, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us here on the show. And of course, we all look forward to seeing your work. Julius probably not so much, but at least Wyatt and we look forward to seeing your.
That's not true. Listen, I read the sports media from the other NFC North teams. Only the other NFC North teams. Jacob, I'm gonna check out your stuff, bro. Really appreciate you coming on the show, though.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thank you guys. Appreciate you guys having me on. I had a lot of fun.
Absolutely, yes. No, Julius is actually. Go ahead, Jacob.
No. I was just gonna say, I'm looking forward to that rap coming out once the Bears trounce it.
Hey, Jacob, I want you to come back on sometime during the season and see how the mood is. I want to hear your thoughts on how the mood is.
Yeah,
because this is Kool-Aid season, baby. This is Kool-Aid season.
Yeah, and it is part of this. My annual, okay, maybe the Bears can do something here. I'm really high on this team and what they've done. And then I fall back to earth, in a couple months, maybe. But for now, I'm just going to enjoy this. I'm going to enjoy the feeling of having some optimism going forward. And, fingers crossed, hope to God that Justin Fields is going to be the guy, finally.
I really hope so, because you guys, I mean, it's been brutal, as a Bears fan. We've had to live with Mike Glennon.
We thought Matt Barkley could have been the guy. A lot of people,
Matt
a lot
Barkley.
of fans were pushing
the Jay Cutler years.
Yeah, the Cuddy years. I think Cutler could have had a chance, but I think that what happened with him, that's a whole other conversation. But I think part of it was obviously his own, just like his own self-esteem, and his morale and whatnot. But yes, we've had it rough. We've had it very rough, and then obviously with the coaching that we've had, also John Fox, the whole John Fox era in Chicago, and then we
It's
got Matt.
okay. The Lions had a generational quarterback, and we still lost.
Okay, but you're
That's a
okay.
lie.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say but you're also the Lions, so we just
Listen.
don't
I'm
care.
not going to take away Stafford's 3 playoff appearances, but I do feel for the Bears. Y'all haven't had a legit franchise quarterback since ever. So hey, it's rough. It's rough out there.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, as long as we get better than the Packers, that's all I care about. It's just whatever
Lucky
happens up in
Packers.
Green Bay. Yeah, we don't.
3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
And nothing to show for it. Just one. Just one.
2. They got one with Favre and one with A-Rod.
Well, yeah, but still, I mean, they should have more if you really want to dig deep into that. But this has been another episode of On Point Discussion, guys. You can follow me at Lounge.
Our Packers listeners are here.
Yeah, I don't want to trigger people right now. You can follow me at Lounge Room Fres 1, Wyatt at the Cornelius 7, Julius at the 5th top. Of course, follow the page at Talks on Point. Give the network a follow at Lounge Room Net. Remember that On Point Discussion is presented by One Call Technology and by our friends over at Fanatics. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great rest of your week. And again, hope all of you had an awesome 4th of July weekend. Lots of fireworks, lots of beer, lots of awesome food on the grill. We'll see you all next week Monday, because I think we've got another guest on next week Monday as well from a completely opposing side of the NFC North division.
I'm bringing a friend on. We'll let you guys know who it is on Twitter.
Yes. Yeah, so we'll have some Wyatt and I are gonna have some competition this time around on the next week's show. So we'll see you all next week Monday. Have a great rest of your work week. Stay safe, and of course, as is tradition, as how we always on the show here on Point Discussion, go Bears.
Go Bears.
Go Lions. Go Tigers. Go sorry White Sox.